Hello, good evening. It's 10 p.m. in Accra, midnight in Cape Town, South Africa, 1 a.m. in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and 6 a.m. in Shanghai, China. Wherever you are, this is News at 10. My name is Stephen Ente. We're broadcasting live from the News Hub at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. You can follow our live stream on Facebook, TV3GH, and Twitter, and on News on TV3, as well as 3news.com. Let's take a look at the major news highlights for the day. U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Robert Porter Jackson, has expressed shock that Ghana has granted refugee status to the two ex-Guantanamo Bay detainees brought into the country about 2 years ago. Speaking to journalists in Tamale, he says the American government has washed its hands off the Gitmo 2 after their 2-year contract expired. And the 12 suspects arrested in connection with the Kwabenya police station attacks have been arraigned before court. The case could, however, not be heard due to the unavailability of the judge. The Ghana Chamber of Mines intends to rake in $2 billion into the economy over the next 5 years. President of the Chamber, Kwame Adokufo, made this known at the launch of the Chamber's 90th anniversary celebration in Accra. And China has dismissed reports that it backed the African Union headquarters as preposterous. The Chinese ambassador to AU, Kwang Weling, told reporters in Ethiopia the absurd claim in France's Le Monde was very difficult to understand. The article said the discovery resulted in the AU servers being switched. Those were our major news highlights. Remember, we're live on 3FM 92.7 and streaming on the internet at 3news.com as well as on our Facebook page. Up next is the big one. Welcome. Now, the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Robert Porter Jackson, has expressed shock that Ghana has granted refugee status to the two ex-Guantanamo Bay detainees brought into the country about 2 years ago. Speaking to journalists in Tamale, he says the American government has washed its hands off the Gitmo 2 refugees after their 2-year contract expired.
Parliament resumed sitting with news from government that the two former Guantanamo Bay detainees had been granted refugee status.
The Ministry of Interior has informed my ministry of records at the Refugee Board, which revealed that the government at the time granted the two detainees refugee status.
The posturing of the then NDC government and now MPP government has come under intense criticism by international relations experts. When they were brought into the country, the Americans stated the role they were playing.
We're going to help with the remuneration of the expense of the residency and food, etc., for the first period of time.
But the U.S. government has been taken aback with the latest information.
I did not know until this week that they had been granted refugee status. That came as much of a surprise to me as it came to all of you.
The two former Guantanamo Bay detainees, Mahmoud Umar Mohammed bin Atef and Khalid Muhammad Salih al-Dubi, have been in Ghana over the last 2 years.
And my colleague Abu Isamoni spoke with the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Charles Oredu, on News 360. He first asked him his views on the comments by the U.S. Ambassador.
I'm not surprised at all.
Why not?
The reason being that almost everybody in Ghana, including the Supreme Court, the current government, including Parliament, everybody was sidelined. Nobody knew about this current status. So even if the current government, if the Supreme Court, if the legislature, have been sidelined. How on earth will the American embassy here get to know about this? But that's why we've always said that this decision to confer this refugee status on the ex-detainees, have made the whole thing a little bit cumbersome. Because hitherto, when they were under protective custody, the exit game, to us as the present government was that after the expiration of the agreement, that's on the 6th of January, we were going to get them over to a third country, because the overwhelming Ghanaian populace, and also going in tandem with what we've stood by when we were in opposition, was that we wouldn't want these detainees to stay one day beyond the expiration of the agreement in Ghana. We are still, in consultation with this third country and assuring Ghanaians that we are very, very optimistic that, this negotiation that we are having with this third country will come to fruition, for the exit of these detainees. Like my minister said, these detainees, the refugee status that has been conferred on them, they would have the right to work. So as we speak now, they are working. They have their own private work that they are doing. But constantly, the security apparatus is keeping an eye on them. They are 24/7 being monitored, surveilled. Their messages, their phone calls, everything, they are being monitored. Because of how they got to where they are now.
Yeah, you just said they are working and taking care of themselves. What kind of work are they doing?
Oh, they are into private work. They are into private work.
Private work like what?
For the time being, I would want to, withhold this information.
It's being rumored that they are carrying themselves about as Ghanaians and they have Ghanaian passports. Is this something that you can confirm?
Yes, they have a travel document, but it's not a passport. It looks like a passport. On the face of it, it looks like a passport because, their pictures are in, Republic of Ghana and all that. But internationally, we don't call it a passport.
And pressure group Occupy Ghana has ramped up its campaign to get the Auditor General to verify assets and liabilities declared by public office holders. The group believes it is within the constitutional remit of the Auditor General to conduct such audit. Nana Sapong Ajimambedu is a coordinator and media relations for Occupy Ghana. He's joining me on the telephone lines now. Good evening, Nana, and thank you extremely for your time.
Good evening.
Now, you want the Auditor General to be able to open the declaration of assets and liabilities, but this is not so. It's not stated in the Constitution. How do you balance this constitutional challenge with the demand you're making?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's also not stated in the Constitution that he cannot verify the assets which have been declared. And, by the definition of the word declaration alone, I mean, it doesn't make sense for someone to make a declaration and still keep it secret. Then what would be the whole essence of doing an asset declaration if the Auditor General is not able to verify the kind of assets being declared before the person takes office? So we believe that, since the Constitution does not really prevent him from opening it, I think by a common sense approach, it should mean that he should be able to verify that these are the assets which are being declared and not just keep them in a sealed envelope and locked away.
But really, how is the absence of this a hindrance to checking corruption? If the Auditor General is able to open, then what? Whilst he's not opening, what is the negative effect on the fight against corruption?
Yeah, it's very possible that a public officer could actually put in an asset which he doesn't even own and something that he conceives that he will own when he comes into office. So probably he does not own a filling station, but he writes it in there and it's sealed, nobody knows. He gets to the filling station whilst in office, and then when we decide to open it up for some other reason, we will see it there as an asset which he has declared. But after the time that before he came to office, he didn't own that asset. So it's one of the the things that this secret declaration could actually promote, and we have to try to avoid some of these things. Also, we'd also want that, once the person has declared the assets, and should something come up and there are going to be an investigation, once the Auditor General opens it up and later realizes that along the line the person has gone to own some assets which seem to be a bit suspicious, we can actually cross-check from the very first time that he declared it and see a discrepancy and maybe investigate as to how the person was able to acquire such an asset. Remember there was a time that we had a deputy minister who actually said that within a term of office, she should acquire about $1 million. And we all know the salary of a deputy minister. So if such a person was able to make $1 million within that period of time, to raise a lot of questions. So by declaring the assets before entering to office, the Auditor General knows how much the person has in the bank accounts, how many assets he has, and even the liabilities that he has, so that once he comes into office, he would not be, he wouldn't feel the need to, amass wealth once the person takes that role.
Right. So tell me how far Occupy Ghana is willing to go in pushing for this demand of yours in wanting to make the Auditor General open these envelopes.
Yeah, we are willing to go very far. We've already written, sent a letter to the Auditor General himself, starting with his office, that once they are going to be the referees, at least his house must be kept in order. He and some of his officers should declare their assets before they can now take that role of checking on the asset declaration forms of other public officers. And should there be any snag with sort of a constitutional interpretation, we would definitely have to head to the Supreme Court for interpretation on that matter, just as we did with the issue of surcharge and disallowance.
Right. We're grateful for your time, sir. Thank you very much. And my name is Stephen Enti. This is News at 10. Welcome back. Now, China has dismissed reports that it bucked the African Union AU headquarters and described that as preposterous. The Chinese ambassador to AU, Kwang Wei-ling, told reporters in Ethiopia the absurd claim in France's Le Monde was very difficult to understand. He spoke out 3 days after the newspaper published an article claiming data from the Chinese-built AU building was being copied to Shanghai. Let's speak to Professor Hojo, Guevara, an international relations expert, for some analysis on this. Good evening, Prof. We're extremely grateful for your time. China is denying these reports that it bucked the AU headquarters. Does this come to you as a surprise, both the denial and the accusations?
Not at all. The accusation and its denial are not surprising. We should understand that China is an emerging superpower in terms of economics and in terms of technology, and it's competing in the world marketplace with the Western European world. So there's a tendency for these worlds, these superpowers, to actually accuse each other of one thing or the other. For in Africa, what does China really gain by bugging the AU headquarters? And in Ghana, why should we panic because we've got news from France that China has undertaken this? It's not China alone that has helped in the construction of edifices on the continent. Then we should also be worried that India helped us to construct the Flagstaff House. And tomorrow somebody says they bugged the Flagstaff House. Should we panic? Let's wait.
But Prof, are these concerns you call panic, are they not realistic, especially considering that in Ghana, China has made donations to some of our institutions and even constructed our defense ministry? Going forward, how should we be handling these gifts?
Well, the way forward is for us to be vigilant as a people. If somebody gives you a gift or somebody is undertaking construction in your country and you leave the person alone and you don't supervise or you don't actively engage in the project, anything can happen. So it's not related to China alone. What I don't want to do is to isolate China and start dealing with China because Western Europe or France in particular says this. This is news that is coming. China has denied it. We don't know the details. And so that's why I say we should not panic because this news is out.
Right. Prof, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much. Professor Hojo Guevara is an international relations expert. Let's move to some other stories. The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, has recorded an increase in revenue from its roadworthiness certificate renewals in January after the implementation of the smart card system. The authority collected over 19 million CDs from January 1st to 25th this year, as against a little more than 2 million CDs recorded in January of 2016 and 2.7 million CDs in January of 2017.
It's such a huge jump in revenue for the month of January. What accounted for this?
Indeed, it's a huge leap. If you look at what happened prior to the beginning of this year, the chief executive have always been having meetings with management, with staff, to ensure that we put in systems and procedures to ensure we have a registration season this year that is unparalleled. First, ensuring that we deliver quality service to our clients, make sure the process of delivering that service is not compromised with, make sure, third, the process has speed inbuilt in it, not compromising quality. Make sure that the way we respond to customer concerns is not like before, that we just think that, oh, this is public service. No. He quickly actually gave various groups, management members, tasks and distributed them in teams to the various stations. Their mission was simple. Get in there. We don't want challenges to take 2 weeks to be resolved. When management members are at the registration centers and any challenge comes up, because they are there, they are able to offer management level decisions, solutions to address the concerns that we're talking about. Every day, the moment the day starts, there are people sitting behind the computers monitoring what is going on at all the stations, including the private vehicle testing stations. The idea behind that is the moment an error is detected, immediately a call is relayed to the manager in charge of that station, and then that error is rectified instantly to ensure that when you come in to register your vehicle or you go in to renew your roadworthiness certificate, you don't spend the whole day doing this task. It's massively integrated in the payment platform, so you cannot issue a roadworthy certificate if the owner of the vehicle or whoever is undertaking that service hasn't paid for it.
So how do I detect that
Yes.
a roadworthy certificate is fake?
For the client, there are some features that we are educating them to look at. First is even the retroreflectivity. If you look at the current roadworthy certificate, there are serials, there are codes inbuilt in that roadworthy certificate that you wouldn't find in a regular one. And those ones are only generated when the sticker has gone through the system. The next level is the use of this particular device that we have provided for our in-house enforcement team and soon for Ghana Police and other relevant enforcement bodies. With this particular system, what happens is the enforcement team out there meets or they stop a vehicle, and this device is pointed at the roadworthy sticker, and in less than a second it picks the information on the sticker, and if the vehicle's roadworthy sticker is genuine and you are the rightful owner of the vehicle with your phone number correctly captured in our database, you receive a text message immediately from this system. If it is fake, on the other hand, you, the owner of the vehicle, and the enforcement officer will read fake from this machine. Right now, it doesn't take you 30 minutes to renew your driver's license at DVLA at Prestige Service Center.
And the 12 suspects arrested in connection with the Kwabenya police station attack have been arraigned before court. The case could, however, not be heard due to the unavailability of the judge. Salama Menya was in court and has come through with the following report.
There was heavy security presence at the court. The case could, however, not be heard owing to the unavailability of the judge, His Honor Abuaje Tando. The prosecution also had to amend their fact sheet. The case was therefore adjourned to Tuesday, January 30. The attack on the police station on Sunday, January 21, led to the escape of 7 suspects. A police officer on duty, Inspector Emmanuel Ashilevi, was also killed in the attack. A manhunt by the Accra Police Command led to the arrest of the 12 suspects.
And the Ghana Chamber of Mines intends to rake in $2 billion into the economy over the next 5 years. President of the Chamber, Kwame Adokufo, made this known at the launch of the Chamber's 90th anniversary celebration in Accra.
The Ghana Chamber of Mines, as part of its 90th anniversary, is instituting measures to sanitize the mining sector. These measures, according to President of the Chamber, Kwame Adokufo, include supporting government's ban on illegal and small-scale mining. Though government has hinted to review the ban on small-scale mining at the end of January, the Chamber believes government must not be rushed to lift it if the sector is not properly sanitized.
I think government is doing the right thing in sanitizing the sector. I keep telling people the chamber contributes 66% of Ghana's gold production. If we can get regulations, standards, and procedures in the remaining 34%, and if we get them to contribute what the remaining 66% is contributing, that will improve the economy quite a lot. So government is doing the right thing. Let's give them time to lift the ban, but in the process, make sure our brothers are properly registered and that they are compliant.
The Chamber intends to rake in $2 billion within the next 5 years for the sector, which remains the highest contributor to the country's GDP despite its numerous challenges.
Mining is a top source of foreign direct investment into Ghana, and in the next 5 years, I don't have the exact numbers, but you have inflows in excess of collectively $2 billion coming in excess of that. I mean, all the operators put together, over $2 billion. So that is a vote of confidence in the industry in Ghana.
The theme for the anniversary celebration is a responsible and sustainable mining sector, a partner for national development.
Okay. Right, and that's how we wrap up with News at 10. I'm Stephen Enti. Thank you very much for making time. On behalf of the crew here, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.